Do you want a more immersive experience? Thrustmaster T150 force feedback racing wheel. Official PS3 and PS4 licenses, and also PC compatible. Rubber coated wheel grips. 1080 degrees of rotation. Adjustable force feedback. Large metal sequential pad. Optimized ergonomic design. Mixed belt, pulley, and gears system. Thrustmaster. Enter into the real driving world.
Hello everyone, and welcome to round 5 of the Formula SimRacing X Championship. This round from the beautiful Silverstone circuit, a circuit with a lot of prestige within motorsport, and we're in qualifying now. We're a couple of minutes into qualifying, about 3 minutes in actually, out of this 20-minute session, and so far we're just seeing the first laps coming in, and it's championship leader Giordano Valeriano at the top of the order so far, followed by the only person other to have won a race apart from Valeriano, David Schiappini. Joining me in the commentary box today will be Cameron Rodger and the cameraman Felix van Delft.
Yes, hello and welcome everyone today. Yeah, looking like a good race we have here. So we got some nice drivers on the grid today, as we do in a nice full grid as well for Ace today. So yeah, we've also got a couple of newer names to the field. We've got Philip Kraus, who's currently leading. He is this is his first race this season for Flag to Flag, and also we've got a couple of people like Enric Andre returning after a couple of races absent.
Yeah, and Enric Andre returning, and currently in 4th position in this session with a 1:26.052. That's quick, not quite as quick as we saw in the Pro class earlier though. I've been told that the pole position lap in the Pro class was somewhere near a 1:25.4. Of course, the Pro race winner ended up being Kian White, who is in the comments section in the live YouTube chat today. So hello to Kian White. Great victory earlier on, and just looking through the chat as well, seeing a couple of other names I recognise. Jean-Pierre Halpap is in here, as well as Carl Pintes and Kevin Peters as well. Kevin Peters very quick in the World GT Championship run by GPVWC. Luke Maguire also saying he has a back of the grid penalty from this round, and he will have to start from the pit lane. So unfortunate from Luke Maguire. And I've just been looking up to see whether anyone else has a back of the grid penalty or any other penalty going into this round as well, and I haven't quite found the answer to that yet, but I'll keep you posted when I find that out. So at the top of the order now is Jeffrey Fournier. Oh, scratch that. To the top now it goes Wojciech Lukaszek. There we go. Got it out after several splurts. Wojciech Lukaszek, that would do, with Jeffrey Fournier in 2nd, Philip Kraus in 3rd position, Giordano Valeriano 4th, David Schiappini 5th, and then making up the rest of the top 10 are Enric Andre, Dylan Scrivens, Christoph Schur, Peter Schultz, and Yuri Siravatsky. And those are usually, or the majority of them, have used up 3 of their 12 allowed laps in this qualifying session. Silverstone's quite a lengthy track though compared to some of the others we go to. Still only about a minute and a half rounded up, but compared to some of the recent tracks we've been to, like the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, it's it's a longer one, and I'm wondering whether it'll whether these drivers will use up their laps or the time first. But of course, there is a lap limit of 12 laps, and we have over 13 minutes of this session remaining, mate. So, Cameron, you're a racer as well. How's Silverstone in these cars? What corners do we have to be looking out for in qualifying? Where can you gain the time, and where should we really watch the cars?
Well, the lap times, as you can see by people getting into the 125s, the lap times are unbelievably quick here. So you really have to get the entry to some of these corners correct. So the S's, for instance, for Maggots, Beckett, and then Chapel, especially Chapel, as you come thickly to the right, you really have to keep it nice and tight, otherwise you just run wide and lose all the time. And the same with Stowe. If you take the wrong line there, you will lose so much time.
Now for the next question. Has the server just crashed? Yeah, it's completely gone. So that was not the qualifying session, because it appears to have suddenly disappeared. But I'm sure that the race directors will be right on this, and hopefully we'll be up and running again very shortly. I take it that'll mean they'll have to restart the qualifying session, though. Have you seen something like this happening before?
Yes, it has happened, and because qualifying, especially as it was only a one lap, I assume we're going to get a full restart here. If the session was almost ended or had ended,
Alright, so it seems that some server issues. Our TeamSpeak also crashed now, so you're gonna have to deal with me just for now. So yeah, qualifying will be restarting. We'll be restarting now. Hopefully we can get it up rather shortly. Yeah, some technical difficulties, unfortunately, that happened. I think we're just gonna go for a small break. We will be back as soon as everything's working again, so hold tight. Maybe grab a cup of coffee if you want, and hopefully we'll be back shortly.
Well, apologies for that that break there. We had various different issues. It seems that as the server crashed, the whole server had to be restarted, including the TeamSpeak. So everything suddenly went dead. But we're back now, and qualifying is just about to restart. We're doing it right from the beginning, so we'll talk you through it as it happens. Again, this is your commentator for the day, Joshua Penny, and joining me is our cameraman, Felix van Delft, and other commentator, Cameron Rodger.
Yes, hello everyone again. We are back. We are just about to get into what will be effectively just a restart of the quali proceedings. Still a full 20-minute 20-minute quali session where the drivers will have 12 laps total, including in and out laps and spin laps to set their fastest time.
Indeed, and of course, as we said before, there's a maximum of 12 laps that you're allowed, including out laps and in laps. So it's not a session where you can waste laps willy-nilly, because out of all of those 12 laps, possibly only 3 of them could be fast laps. Sometimes even fewer. So you really need to string a lap together and not mess around, and that's what these drivers are about to concentrate on. And it does take the driver who can go the fastest without losing control to take pole position here. As for the Silverstone circuit, it's a very sort of technical one, quite old-fashioned. Well, it's old, but it's not old-fashioned, I should say. The track has been updated many times. Of course, pretty much all of it is brand new ever since updates in 2012, in the early 2000s, in the late 90s. It's been updated many times to keep it in date. It's almost like the perfect test track, but it still works very well for races, and the drivers love it. High-speed circuit with some very quick corners, and going into some more technical sections as well, like the brand new. I say brand new; it's 8 years old now. The arena section. I remember sitting at the arena section for the World Series by Renault in 2010 on one of the first weekends of usage for that new section of track. So I can remember this circuit changing, and as I said, the drivers love it. In reality, it's a very physically straining track as well. As you go through the Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel complex up towards Stowe, you're pulling 3 to 6 Gs around every single corner in that sector. Copse as well. Copse is a very fast one. So from Copse all the way up to Stowe, every corner is high G, and that means that the drivers train for this race in particular when they do it in reality. And in sim racing as well, it's all about getting that setup where you can corner quickly and not have to worry about what your car's going to do mid corner or on the exit.
This track's actually an interesting one to set it up for, because literally every single corner, or every single one of the main corners, is quite high speed. But then you still have the sort of slower sections like turn 3 and 4, the loop section as you were talking about that was introduced a few years ago, and also the last chicane is quite tight as well. And also you don't want to go unbelievably high on the wings, because the straights are still just about long enough to make an overtake. So it is quite an interesting one to set it up for, quite unique in many ways, but it's certainly a track that I would say most drivers would enjoy because of the high-speed nature, and you can really throw the car in.
Yeah, it's definitely a very good circuit to drive. I absolutely love this one. And aside from all of the fast corners as well, yeah, don't forget the slower ones like the final chicane, of course, like the arena section, like Luffield. Remember Luffield, the one of the longest slow chicanes in racing. Of course, it's long because of its wide radius nature, but it's so tight that even with the wide radius, it's not fast by any means, and it just seems to go on, and the drivers often just don't know when to put the power down. I certainly struggle with it. And when you're in a rear-wheel drive car like this, with so much power and such little weight, sometimes the car can just try to come round on you on the exit. So even the slower corners on this track are really, really quite difficult, and actually very cleverly thought out. The whole circuit has been designed very, very well indeed, and it's great for the drivers, great for the spectators, great for any series that races here. Of course, currently racing here in reality is an endurance race, well, a shorter endurance race. It's the Blancpain 3 hours of Silverstone. That's on right now, but don't go anywhere because you can catch up with that later. And in the meantime, we have some cracking, very exciting Formula Sim racing action going on at the same place, just virtually.
I just restarted the server here to make sure there's some real road down for our drivers, as obviously there was a crash, so real road was lost, but luckily we have saves of these things as we go along.
Yeah, we're just getting that all sorted out now before the qualifying session. Of course, we don't need another official practice because that session completely finished. The next session will be qualifying, even though official practice does seem to have just restarted. But I don't think that they're going to leave that running. And qualifying is going to be a 20-minute session, as it would have been before. And I don't know why anyone's bothered to go out on track here, seeing as the official practice I don't think is going to last. But it seems like about half the grid is on track now, so I'm a little bit confused by that.
Yeah, we will be going to qualifying in just a moment. Obviously, drivers getting every bit of track time that they can. Why not?
Yeah, even in the non-official sessions, this one technically not supposed to be happening right now. But anyway, drivers on track nonetheless. Just getting that extra track time, and well, that's great to see. Gives us something to watch while we're waiting for the qualifying session to restart. Of course, we did have some track time earlier with the pro race, as I said, won by Kian White, and that was a good race. Go back and check that out after this race if you want to. And of course, later on we have the World Championship, if I can speak today, coming up later on, and that's for the properly big guys, the names that you're likely to hear in the future all over sim racing, and some of the names you hear all over sim racing right now. We've had some big names coming from the Formula Sim Racing World Championship in the past. Bono Huis, one of the most notable, winning several championships in the World Championship, and some other very big names have come from there as well.
Alright, so drivers are now coming out to start this qualifying session after a little bit of a delay, but we are back here. We are restarting the qualifying session completely, so all laps from before are not counting at this moment, so clean slate for everyone. And yeah, 12 laps they have, including in and out laps, so you basically have 4 runs, because you have your out lap, your fast lap, and then your in lap. That's 3, so 12 divided by 3 is 4 laps that you can do. Obviously, if you if it works out that you crash on a couple of occasions, you might get a 5th run if you have enough laps. But if you are on your 12th lap, that means you cannot finish it. Otherwise, you will get a disqualification from the game, and you'll have to start from the back of the grid.
So qualifying has now started. We are about a minute into it, and there are a couple of drivers out on track already. I'm just getting up my live timing screen, and then I will talk you through this session. But I think one thing I want to do at the start here is ride on board with a specific driver for a lap, and just visit or just view this Silverstone circuit, this very fast, very technical Silverstone circuit, which the drivers love. and talk you through the different corners and braking points, etc. But just looking at the live timing screen, I'm going to see who's coming up to that point on the track. What about Arif Roslin? He seems to be building up to a lap here. So Arif, of course, one of the quickest drivers on the grid when he's having a good day, and now he accelerates out through the final corner. That's club corner, turn 18, and onto a lap we go now. Very fast turns 1 and 2. Here's Abby. There's the right-hander. Here's Farm. That's the left-hander. And now down towards Village. It's a heavy braking zone. You see he goes down into third gear there. Oh, get gets a bit crossed up on the exit there, but down into second for the loop through Aintree, and opening the DRS as we head down the Wellington straight up into gear 8, and then braking back down into gear 4 possibly. Yeah, there's gear 4. That's Brooklands. Now for this long hairpin that I was talking about, Luffield keeps it in gear 3. That's interesting. I would have thought that was absolutely gear 2. Gear 3 rather. It would have been gear 2 in a slower car. But as we head towards Cops, still keeping the gear as high as he can. Gear 8 through there. Look at that. So Cops faster than I thought it would be today. As we head through the Maggots and Beckett's complex, the most famous complex of corners on the Silverstone circuit, out through Chapel, opening the DRS again down the Hangar straight as we go up towards Stowe. Take it wide on the entry, clip the apex. You have to clip the apex. He does. Run it out to the outside, not onto the grass. He does clip it slightly, and now down into a tight chicane, the Vale Club chicane, which again ends the thrilling Silverstone lap. That one a little bit hampered by that slide at Village, and it's not the quickest lap we've seen today by any stretch of the imagination. But Arif Roslin now goes back to the pits as Danny van der Deert puts his car to the top of the order.
Yeah, so Danny van der Deert there again, a 25.4, which is matching what the pro pole time was earlier. So I'm sure we can see some of these drivers get a little bit quicker than the pro time, so probably into the 0.3, maybe 0.2, something like that. But yeah, a lot of times coming in very close actually at the top. Top 6 at the moment only covered by 0.4 seconds. But if we have a look at who is on track, Marek Godek is coming around the final corner. He has got a purple first sector, but couldn't keep it in the last 2. Only 7th position. And Christoph Schoer is also coming to finish his lap into the final chicane. He is doing some decent first and second sectors. Hasn't had the best season so far, but he's definitely a talent in this Ace Championship. Where can he put himself? He has gone 8th, so only 4 tenths off pole, so I'm sure with another attempt he can get a lot closer.
In the meantime there, Lukaszek has put his car up to 2nd position. Less than 1.5 tenths of a second off Danny van der Deert at the top there, a 125.581. So we're setting very similar laps here to the laps we were setting earlier in Pro. I'm sure that these drivers can go slightly quicker, so we might well see the times continue to come down as the racing progresses, as the qualifying progresses rather. But Wojciech Lukaszek, there you go, puts his car to 2nd in the order. I'm just watching Harris Parves now. He's one of our top drivers here at Formula Sim Racing, and he's just coming through the final sector now. Of course, Harris Parves running very high in the World Championship. No, I'm thinking of the wrong driver, but has done World Championship races in the past, I think. And he puts his car now to 10th position, the last year's FSR Pro champion. And 10th position there is a good first attempt, but I'm sure he'll be hoping to go quicker later on.
And we've got Lucas Spinell coming into the final sector. He's currently 2nd in our championship, some 19 points off the leader Valeriano, but he's definitely challenging for the top spots here today. Down in 22nd at the moment, hasn't set a time. Where can he put his first lap on the board? Only 12th, but half a second off. So some very close times we've got at the top here.
Yeah, Schmidt must have made a mistake on that lap, because he is about 10 positions lower than his championship position there. He will certainly be wanting more, but as you pointed out, he's only as near as makes no difference, half a second off our leader. So the top 12 separated by really not much at all, and in fact the top 16, the top 17 now are separated by less than 9 tenths of a second. That's really quite impressive here. Now looking back at the live timing, just watching the laps coming down, Viktor Ivanov appears to be on another quick one. He's currently in 6th position, coming through the final corner. That's a good lap. 1:25.3. That's the quickest lap we've seen of the day so far from anyone. Viktor Ivanov puts his car to the top of the order, and he's the first driver to dip below the 1:25.4 that we saw in pro qualifying earlier. And Viktor Ivanov is currently only 10th in the championship, so he's probably got more pace than points, and he'll want to change that as the season progresses. And here in round 5, he certainly appears to have the pace for it.
And coming into final sector now is Philip Kraus on his debut in the Ace Championship this year, signed for the Flag to Flag team. Coming around the final corner now, what can he do on his first lap today? He goes 3rd. Wow, nice lap there. 8.4 for Philip Kraus. He is setting us up there to put him on the 2nd row provisionally right now after the first couple of laps being put in.
Harley Hamlet puts in his first lap. That puts him to 14th position there. So Harley Hamlet up into 14th position, and I've just seen a purple first sector. So fastest first sector of anyone from Wojciech Lukaszek, and Wojciech Lukaszek just going down the old pit straight. That's the national pit straight. There's a bit of traffic getting out of the way there. That's Jeffrey Fournier, but through turn 1 goes well, the old turn 1 Cops. Now turn 9 goes Lukaszek, just waiting for his second sector time. That will be on the exit of Chapel. So there goes Lukaszek. It's been a very quick lap so far, and well, his second sector wasn't quite there, even by his standards, but maybe his first sector made up for that. I'm just watching the end of the lap, because this could still be a quick one. He could still salvage this, as Tom Savalli now goes up into 3rd position in the order. But I'm watching Wojciech Lukaszek coming out in the final corner and going to the top of the order nonetheless. So Lukaszek goes to the top with a 1:25.250. Fastest first sector of anyone, fastest lap of anyone. Great attempt.
And Danny Van Der Neat here coming around the final corner on another decent lap. Where can he put himself on? Not quite an improvement, but still a decent lap from him. But yeah, that was what a lap that was from Wojciech Lukaszek. He's now a 10th ahead of Viktor. He's another 10th ahead of Danny Van Der Neat. So those two drivers at the front definitely trying to stretch their legs here in this championship. Or in this qualifying session, I mean.
Well, and in the championship, of course, it all leads towards that. Lukaszek as well, not quite as high up the championship as he would like. In fact, that's because he's only made 1 round of this championship so far. So and he didn't even finish that. It was the Melbourne round. So Lukaszek yet to finish a race yet this season on his return to the championship. But he is certainly making his mark on it, so a great attempt there from Wojciech Lukaszek.
Got Peter Schultz coming around the final corner now. Not so the best lap he can do so far. Yes, he's jumped up to 17th place, also getting into the 25. So we now have the top 18 in the 1:25. So
and Robin Panzer goes to a 1:25.188 for cutting across you, but that's a quick lap from Robin Panzer. And he goes to the top of the order now in the ACR car. So Robin Panzer is our new leader. The ACR engineering driver goes to the top with a 1:25.188, as we have now just less than half of the session time remaining.
Yeah, that lap surprised me. I was looking at the sector times, but I didn't see him doing anything sort of amazing. But he was just doing some decent sectors, and then he got a purple in the final sector. Some 2 tenths quicker than what some other people have done. So he's got a nice final sector there to put himself as the fastest driver we've seen today so far. And these ace drivers are now starting to show where their abilities are better than the pro division.
Yeah, definitely. That's why they're in this category, because of their pace, especially the drivers up the front of the order like Panzer Panzer, like Lukaszek, like Ivanov, they are right with it in terms of the pace today. And well, we're still yet to see more from our championship leaders. Schiappini is third in the championship. He's 8th today. Schmidt is second in the championship. He's 11th today. And Valeriano is at the top of the championship. He is 12th. So the championship leaders are pretty much nowhere at the minute, and are definitely well, they're definitely not where we'd expect them. As Schiappini now has just put in a quick first sector. So I'm watching Schiappini as he goes through Maggots and Beckett and out through Chapel. He's on the grass, and Schiappini has lost that lap.
And Valeriano coming into the final chicane. He's got 2 personal bests right now, currently down in 12th position, as you just said. Our championship leader in the Musto Racing car. Can he get himself nearer the top? Yes, he's gone to 8th, only 3/10 off pole, but still not quite enough for those top spots.
Still only 8th for Valeriano. He will not be happy with that, because 8th position is a long way down from where Valeriano usually is in terms of the order. So disappointing from Valeriano.
I'll tell you someone who is probably going to be a bit disappointed as well is David Mrucek, down in 21st position. He's had some nice top 10 performances this season, but down in 21st, so he is struggling a little bit down there.
Yeah, he certainly is. Mrucek, one of the quickest drivers usually, but nowhere near where he normally is as well. Oh, I've just seen Enric Andre doing exactly what Schiappini did on his last lap, and running wide going towards Chapel. So a couple of drivers stuffing their laps in that way. Tom Satherley, currently quick in the other GS racing car, and he's going well at the minute in the first sector, but well, just needs to keep it together for the rest of the lap. Through Maggots and Beckett, great to see the cars being absolutely wrestled through there, and very nearly gets it on the grass in the same way out of Beckett, but doesn't quite reach it. Now, what's the second sector time for Satherley? It's not quite as quick as we'd hope. So Satherley has maybe not got this lap together, but the first sector was quick again. So we'll see what he can do in the final sector here. Does he get a good exit to the final corner? It certainly looks like it, and up to 4th he goes. So it is an improvement from Satherley, and he moves himself up into 4th position ahead of Danny van der Neert and Marek Godek.
And Lukaszek coming across the line now. Can he take... Oh, yes, he can! A 125.169 puts him just a 200th of a second quicker than Robin Panzer. Yeah, nice lap. That was, again, he wasn't lighting up the sector times at the beginning, but in those last couple of sectors, he gains back some time, and Panzer is just about to start his lap in response to see if he can retake provisional pole position right now.
Yeah, certainly. Panzer is certainly going at it. Well, he will be. He's just setting up for his flying lap, and I suggest that this one's going to be absolutely from the heart, because Panzer will win that pole position, and I can see it, his racing in, or his ACR teammate Lucas Schmidt out of him. Maybe Schmidt is there by chance, but maybe he's setting up to give him a slipstream on the straight. That would certainly be tactics from the ACR cars. He seems slightly too far ahead for that, but here they go onto the straight. He'll be getting a bit of slipstream there, but might be affected slightly through the corner due to the turbulent air from the car in front. I don't think he's quite close enough for that, but it's certainly...
Oh no,
Panzer
loses it. Panzer loses it, but he still has 1 lap left. There is 4 minutes left in the session, so he is able to do that.
Yeah, just looking back at what happened to Panzer, he just seemed to get on the power a bit quickly, I'd say, out of Lovefield, and as he corrected it, he ran over the gravel, knew there was no hope in saving it, and went into the barrier.
Oh, so wow, David Mrucek, as I was just saying a minute ago, was not having a great session. He's jumped up to P3 from all the way down in 20th position, a 125.2. What an improvement that is. He must have just made a couple of mistakes on his first laps, but yeah, that is a really, really nice lap from David Mocek to put himself into P number 3.
Absolutely, and that means that the top 14 drivers now are separated by less than half a second here, and the top 22 are separated by 1 second. That's really quite impressive here, and great to see a grid so close. This race is going to be an absolute corker, but let's focus on the qualifying session at first, because this one is corking enough as it is, as Jeffrey Fournier moves up into 11th position now. So still some quick laps coming in. The drivers at the front of the order aren't going to get many more opportunities at this. Satherley appears to be on his last lap now. Van den Aert is also setting up for it, and Dylan Scrivens comes out of the pits for his last try as well. So we have drivers going for it for one last time here, and is Valeriano on a lap? Because Valeriano is lapping, but not very quickly in the first sector. Valeriano is in serious trouble here today, as are all of the championship leaders. He's in the wall. So Valeriano, if he was pushing, he's pushed it too hard and has spun inwards out of Luffield and been into the barrier. And that is it for Giordano Valeriano. Our championship leader is starting 10th or lower.
And not the best performance today from from qualifying anyway, but I'm sure as he is championship leader, he will have the pace in the race to move forward. But yeah, the times are so unbelievably close here. Just a tiny mistake will put you back a couple of positions. And then currently looking at Tom Satherley coming around the corner, the final corner, on his final lap to try and get pole position, and he improves, but he doesn't improve his position. He's now into the 25.3s, but yeah, same position as he was before, P number 5.
He does, however, move slightly further ahead of Danny Van den Aert, and that's important, seeing as Van den Aert is on a quick lap here and might be focusing on moving up. His first sector isn't quite as quick as Tom Satherley's, but we've seen he's been quicker in the second and third sectors before. So Van den Aert, oh wow, it's the fastest second sector of anyone. This could be on for pole here from Van den Aert. It's been a blistering first 2 sectors actually, and now as he comes through the final chicane, he could jump up 5 positions here. Let's see if he does. He needs to get a good exit to club. The car weaves slightly, but this is going to be a cracker across the line. Wow, he didn't even improve, did he?
Yeah,
he did, but it wasn't much.
His first sector wasn't overly special, unfortunately, for Danny Van den Aert. But yeah, that purple middle sector was very good from him. But talking about purple, Lukaszek has gone purple in the first sector, looking to further improve his time and secure his provisional pole position, as Robin Panzer, I think, is just coming up. Yes, coming up to start his lap. But yeah, Lukaszek halfway around now, coming through Copse and coming down into this awesome section through Maggots and then into Beckett's and then finally Chapel. Wow, he keeps in 8th gear through Beckett's. That is really good speed from Lukaszek.
Oh, you couldn't have done that last year. Wow.
Yeah, what can he do in the middle sector? Oh, it's still decent middle sector, about half a tenth off what he could have done, but still pretty good. He could be on to improve his time here.
And he gets into the grass slightly, dips 2 wheels in at Stowe. So I'm wondering whether this lap's been a little bit ruined, but as he crosses the line, it has been, and that is it. But still, I don't think anyone's going to be able to go quicker. Panzer is on a lap now. What's the first sector? I'm just waiting for the time to load in. It's not loading in, as the timer ticks to 0. So the timer is now at 0. So only the drivers currently on laps can actually finish these laps, and I can't see Panzer's sector time for some reason.
It was a 0.8, so still pretty good first sector right now from Robin Panzer. And David Mocek is a bit ahead on a very similar time in the first sector as well. I haven't quite got his second sector split. 0.7, so that is still a pretty decent one. This might be an improvement for David Mocek as well as he comes into the final chicane. And coming out of the last corner, where can he put himself? Can he improve? No, he cannot. So let's look back to Robin Panzer again, coming around the final chicane. He has got a car just ahead, but oh no, he's spun. He has spun. That is it for him. And yeah, that is Robin Panzer gone, but we still have a couple of drivers finishing laps on, and they have now finished. So this is your grid for today. We have Wojciech Lukaszek on pole for Ghost Speed, ahead of Robin Panzer and David Mocek, with Victor Ivanov in 4th, Tom Savely in 5th, Danny Vantony in 6th, Marek Godek in 7th, Philip Kraus on his debut in 8th, Dylan Scrivens in 9th, and Giordano Valeriano, your championship leader, is in 10th place.
Well, what a terrible session from all of our championship leaders. Valeriano 10th, Schmidt 13th, Schiappini 12th. Those are the top 3 in the championship. They couldn't even get into the single-digit numbers. So a really muddled up grid today, and for no apparent reason. It just seems that the drivers we wouldn't expect to have more pace have got more pace today. So the grid absolutely flipped on its almost on its head, as we have the championship leaders absolutely nowhere, and this is going to be a very interesting race as the big guys struggle for the points.
Right, so as we go into the warm-up session here, we'll just take a quick break and we'll be back with you in a few minutes to get this race going.
Hey man, I got that new TMX Thrustmaster wheel. It's going down.
Xbox One?
I can't wait to play when I get home.
You'll let me play?
Yeah, after I play first. Yeah.
You know, I'll race it for it.
Well, I have to hand you.
keep it up.
Whoa, Reese! Oh no, big mistake!
Back to Ashley and down to 10.
It has been an absolutely astonishing season.
Right, so we're back and we're just preparing for the start of this race. We have just under 4 minutes left in the brief unofficial warm-up session before the start of the race. I say unofficial, what I mean there is that it doesn't affect the actual order of the starting grid or of the race directly. So we're just waiting for it to finish. It'll be about 3.5 minutes now, and then we can get to the grid. I'm not quite sure about who's got penalties for today. I know that Luke LeBlair has, because he was telling everyone about it earlier in the YouTube chat. But apart from that, I can't actually find the list for today. But I can't imagine there were too many, seeing as last time out was the circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, and that circuit doesn't tend to get too many track limits penalties for a start, so that removes that side of things. But whatever the case, a couple of drivers obviously still do have penalties to serve, and they will be demoted on the grid, I expect. But in terms of the order, I can't believe what I'm seeing, but the top 23 drivers were just separated by less than a second in qualifying. You really don't get much closer than that. I was saying just now, at times it was almost like lottery qualifying. The drivers all set pretty much exactly the same lap, and it was almost like you had to be the most pedantic stopwatch in history to actually work out who was where. But whatever the case, we had 23 drivers separated by less than a second, and well, that means that the smallest of errors, the smallest of gains, made the difference between the front of the order and the back, realistically. So such a close session, and this race could be an absolute corker. So Cameron, you were racing in the pro race earlier. What sort of things are we expecting in terms of the strategy today?
Well, we have 39 laps today in it, because obviously Ace runs a 75% distance, so we're probably looking at a one stop for most of the field. However, in pro there were some two stops, and they did sort of work, so I wouldn't be surprised if there were a couple of people two stopping today. We have the soft, medium and the hard. I'm not sure that the hard would really be used, because unless you're really bad on your tyres and you want to do a one stop, there's probably no reason for you to use it, but maybe someone will try it. And yeah, so probably a one stop, soft, medium, or medium soft, depending on which way round you want to do it. And obviously the top 10 have to start on the qualifying tyre, which is the soft. So yeah, I think a one stop here today will be the most used strategy, but don't be surprised if someone wants it to be a bit different.
Of course, the winning strategy earlier was a soft to medium one stop from Kian White, so that definitely appears to be the strategy to go for. But of course, that can change. It all depends on driver preference and driver calculations, and maybe someone can pull off a different strategy and come through to win the race or something along those lines. But well, it seems like the top part of the order will be starting on the soft compounded tyre, as we expect from races like this, because of course that tends to be the tyre that people qualify on, and you have to start on the compound that you qualify on. So the top half of the order will all be about well, they'll all be on the soft compounded tyre, and we'll be expecting them to pit probably, well, if they're starting on the soft, before the halfway point in the race, and then do a longer stint to finish it off, which will all be about which will all be about tyre saving. So track position is going to be very important at the start of this race, and after that it's just going to be about conserving the tyres and making sure that the drivers bring it home in the best possible position. Meanwhile, the warm-up session has ticked to 0 in terms of the timer, so we're just waiting now for the start of the race, and the drivers will be feeling really quite tense at this point. This is where the tension builds, and they'll be thinking about what the car is going to feel like at the start and where they're starting. Sometimes some drivers who take it properly seriously like to visualize the start of the race in different situations that might occur. With me, I tend to like to clear my mind a bit, you know, not really think about that sort of stuff, because that tends to just wind up the driver. You know, take it how it comes and just react on instinct, really. But drivers take it in different ways. You're a racer, Cameron. What do you do at this point before the start of the race?
I make sure I have the right fuel.
Yes.
Because sometimes in warm up, you sort of use less fuel just to get a feel of the car, sort of middle race fuel. So just make sure you have a nice full tank of fuel, or less if you want to run on less, and obviously have the correct tyres, because especially if you're in the top 10, you will get a penalty if you start on the wrong tyre. But, you know, it's just sort of keeping yourself calm at this moment. You don't want to, you know, start locking up on your warm-up lap, or, you know, running into people, that sort of things. Just got to keep it nice and calm. Just save a bit of fuel where you can, and, yeah, just sort of start thinking about how you're going to do your start process. Are you going to do some burnouts? Are you going to use launch control? Because launch control is an option in ACE. You know, are you going to use launch control? You're not. All this sort of things going through your head as you wind round this lap. Yeah, let's go through the grid for today's race. So, on pole position, we have Wojciech Lukaszek from Go Speed, followed by the two ACRs of Robin Panzar and David Mrocek. In fourth place, you have Victor Ivanov, and Tom Savley is in fifth. Danny van der Neet is down in sixth place, with Marek Godek in seventh, Philip Kraus in eighth, Dylan Scrivens in ninth, and Giordano Valeriano in 10th position, your championship leader. And that is someone off the track at the moment. Who is that? That is Wojciech Lukaszek. He's going off the track on his formation lap. Is he having...
He's having
some
issues.
issues.
He's still off the road. He's turning off the road.
Yes.
Is he parking the car here?
What is going on? He has had a... Well, he's had a screen freeze or something.
Yeah, he's in the wall. He's had a screen freeze or something like that. And that is a disaster for our race leader, Wojciech Lukaszek, who has... well, he's actually been off at Cops. He went off at Cops first to the inside, to the outside, actually got hit by second place Robin Panzer, and then he went off again at Maggots. So something is dreadfully wrong with Wojciech Lukaszek here. He must have been trying to keep the car in a straight line. Well, maybe there was a pop-up on his screen or something like that. Whatever the case, he's in the barrier, and, well, the cars are going around without him.
Wow, yeah, that is... this is a bit confusing situation for everyone right now, because Lukaszek is sitting on the side of the track with no front wing because he went into the wall. Yeah, that is unfortunate for him.
And he's in the pits. They're going to continue the race. So Panzer will start on pole, followed by Wojciech, Ivanov, Savely, Van der Neert, Godek, Kraus, Scrivens, Valeriano, Fournier, Schipini, Schmidt, Ruth, Schgert, Parvez, Gomez, Coleman, Hamnet, Schultz, Roslin, Morville, Suravatsky, Branansky, and Hernandez. And then starting from the pits will be Yunt, Najem, Andre, and Maguire. But our pole sitter, Wojciech Lukaszek, appears to be out of the race before it's even begun. Utter drama and utter disappointment.
If his PT is getting fixed now, he can do a start from the pit lane, so he's not out of the race as such. He can take the start of this race, but if he's having issues, maybe he cannot. But anyway, lights are about to come on. Drivers are gridded up for 39 laps here at Silverstone.
And Lukaszek is out in the pits, so Lukaszek will start the race, but from the pit lane. As the lights come on now, we've got 5 lights, and as soon as they turn out, we are away. So away we go, and it looks like the best starts come from 3rd position, Viktor Ivanov. He goes to the inside and gets 2nd immediately. Oh, there's 2 cars shooting straight on in the background. Philip Kraus was one of them, and the other one was Dylan Scrivens, but they're both still running. And it's Pansar leading from Ivanov, Rodger, Savely, and Godek as the field streams through the arena section of the track, and it appears that everyone's made it through cleanly except for David Yunt, who has crashed in the pit lane.
Yeah, Viktor Ivanov.
Wojciech has been into the back of David Yunt in the pit lane, and to be honest, that's just Lukaszek going too quickly, completely misjudging the rear of Yunt's car and crashing into him.
I think that was actually Luke Maguire, because he started from the pit lane, but David Mocek is now in P2 because Viktor Ivanov and David Mocek got past Robin Panzar. So Robin Panzar is down into 3rd place from effectively pole position in this race. Not having the best time. I'm not sure if there was contact. I couldn't quite see at the time, but yeah, Viktor Ivanov is now leading this race, weaving down the street to try and get rid of some slipstream.
It was a lag issue.
Good.
Pansar lagged backwards on the straight, and I'm very, very glad that he pulled out to defend from those 2 cars. But he shouldn't be behind them at the minute. He is effectively, or should be, still leading this race. He just
crash in the background. Sorry, it's David Chiappini. He's backwards at the final chicane. He's had to wait for every single person to get past him, apart from a couple of people who started from the pit lane. So yeah, David Chiappini down 24th position, the guy who won last time out in Paul Ricard, if I remember correctly. So that is not
since then we've been to the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, but he did win at Paul Ricard. Right, that was round 3. This is round 5. But Chiappini, 3rd in the championship, is now down into 24th, and there's another spin. It's Matthijs Coleman who has gone around at Village. It looks like he's clattered over the curbs and hit Christoph Schur, who managed to hold it, and then he got collected as well by Harley Hamnet, who also managed to hold it. But yeah, we've had issues further back. 2 retirements after the first lap who came together in the pit lane, Yunt and Lukaszek. So a terrible day for Lukaszek. It looked like Lukaszek just went into the back of Yunt, and he'll be feeling very silly about that. But Ivanov's leading from Wojciech. Savely is now up to 3rd.
Yeah, good start from Tom Savely there, getting himself up into 3rd place. Obviously, 1 position gained for everyone pretty much because of Lukaszek. However, yeah, still good. He's got past Robin Panzar. Robin Panzar seems to be struggling this now. I'm trying to see on the straight, does he have suspension damage? He might have a tiny bit of suspension damage, but it's negligible. We had Viktor Ivanov at the front is opening up a tiny bit of a gap to David Mocek, 0.8 of a second at the last sector point. And yeah, Viktor Ivanov, if I recall, I think he's only won 1 race in FSR, which was Brazil last year, when he did quite a nice drive with Felix van Delft, and I think Lucas Schmitter was on that day. But yeah, he's leading here now in the Netrec, so he is going to be trying to get himself just a little bit of a gap at this moment, but Mocek is not giving up from the look of it.
Pansar is 4th, Godek is 5th, Van der Neer is 6th, Valeriano already up to 7th. Good start for Valeriano. Then it's Scrivens, Schmidt, Gomez, Parves, Fournier, Kraus, Roof, and Schur, who make up the 15 drivers who will score points today. Following them is the rest of the pack. In the pits, Matthijs Coleman and Kevin Moorville, who have had incidents on that last lap. I didn't see what happened to Moorville. Oh, it was coming out of Stowe, actually, so very late in the lap. He lost control of the car mid-corner and just got clipped by... who was that? It was Harley Hamnet. So he got clipped by Harley Hamnet, spun the car around, nothing Hamnet could have done. But Moorville went into the wall at Stowe, and now he's pitted for that damage behind Matthijs Coleman, who we saw getting spun around at Village. And Moorville is out of the race.
So starting to look at the tyre strategy. So it seems everyone in the top 9 is obviously on the... top 8 are on the softs because they are the ones who started there. But Lucas Schmidt, starting outside top 10, could choose his tyres, and he has chosen to go on the medium tyres. So he's doing an alternate strategy, and if he can keep with this top group, that will really help him as they get later in the race. And a couple of places behind him are Fabian Ruth in 14th on the hard tyres. So he's going to be going very long into this race on the hard tyres. And someone who didn't do a good first lap was Philip Kraus. Obviously, that contact with Dylan Scrivens, I think it was, at turn 1. He is now 13th place, but on the soft tyres. Oh, wow! There, who is that? That is Marek Godek. He's upside down with Robin Panzar. I wonder if Panzar had another lag incident here. Let's go and check on the replay. So coming around into turn 4, yes, lagged back.
Oh, that's terrible.
Back into Marek Godek, who got stuck in him. It ended up upside down, and unfortunately, another car, who I think was Pedro Gomez, got collected in that incident. Did Panzar get going? Yes, Panzar did eventually get going, but he's obviously going to be going back. Godek, unfortunately, out of the race now, along with Enric Andre on this lap. Andre, I think, just retired from the race, unfortunately. So yeah, not a good first couple of laps for Panzar.
I tell you what.
Wow, yes, bad.
Oh, look at how badly Panzar is grabbing. It's so dangerous when you get a driver lagging like that. We saw a lag issue for him earlier in the race. Now he's had one that's caught another car out. Unfortunately, Panzar is a little bit dangerous at... well, he's a little bit of a hazard on the track at the minute with these lag issues. Needs to get those sorted out. But unfortunately, Marek Godek's race has been ruined as a result. We've also on that lap lost Matthias Coleman. He crashed at the Maggots and Beckett's complex, possibly on cold tyres, seeing as he just came out in the pits. And Enric Andre was involved in an incident with Cheyenne Najam. Najam missed his braking going into Village. Andre spun around and possibly lost the engine, so that is the end of Andre's race again. And thus ends incident report as Gomez and Panzer, 2 ACR drivers, hit with heavy damage.
Yes, that is unfortunate for the ACR crew right now, but they still have David Mrček in second place. Wow, and Victor Ivanov is even going defensive up into Cops. That is not a normal place, you see, overtaking, so it's interesting that he's defending there. He's obviously trying just to keep out of the attacking range, because here the DRS zones are fairly long to overtake, but they're not long enough that it's just a bog standard overtake. So if you can keep that gap, you will be able to keep people behind, as we see here. Mrček not able to get close enough to Victor Ivanov, but Tom Savley is also staying with them. Danny Van Neet in fourth has who is that Valeriano and Dylan Scrivens behind. A little gap has been made to this group, so I wonder if Danny Van Neet is just holding Giordano up there. Yes, his lap times are about a second a lap slower than Tom Savley's at the moment, and Valeriano is very close, probably looking to make a move coming down into turn 3, because you can slipstream through turn 1 and 2, but no, not quite close enough for the Mustache. Oh wow, he went big on the brakes there and almost ran into the back of Danny Van Der Neet. And now Dylan Scrivens, his sister teammate, is looking at the back of him, coming out onto the Wellington straight here. But obviously, Valeriano himself has DRS, so it's going to be a little bit difficult for Dylan. But yeah, that was a bit too brave from Valeriano. Yeah. Almost ending the two of their races.
Yeah, that would have been a very scary situation, but Valeriano, we know he's talented, is able to avoid that one and back out of it. I think that what we saw a lap ago from Ivanov was less of an actual block and more just trying to break the slipstream of Mrček behind, because of course he doesn't want Mrček to get onto his tail, because if Mrček can just keep that through the Maggots and Beckett's complex and get a good exit, he has a great opportunity going towards Stowe.
Well, Harris Pavez has DNF. I think he has he lost it on the grass coming out of Cops. Doesn't seem to have any damage, but he has retired from this race, unfortunately, because he was looking to get some points in that position. So yeah, that is freed up people like Schmidt and Philip Kraus and Fournier, who are now well into the top 10 on their medium tyres.
Seems to have just given up, and he might regret that, because he was still in a position where he could have scored points there. Obviously didn't feel like it would have been enough points. Harris Pavez in 5th position in this championship at the minute, but he's going to be losing a lot of points from that, I'm afraid to say. And well, it's a little bit silly, because he didn't appear to lose the engine or anything like that. He certainly didn't spin enough. So I'm surprised to see Pavez out of the race at the minute.
I have to say, Mrocek is not letting Ivanov get away right now. He is, I don't know, maybe he's using a bit of fuel as well to try and keep up right now. But
well, I tell you
he's
what,
certainly pushing.
You've got the top three still right together, separated by less than 7/10 of a second through the last checkpoint. So the top three are still right together, and any of these could make a change. It's all about getting good exits and making sure you're there for the DRS zones. But for now, it's still Ivanov from Rodger from Satherley. But as you say, they're very close, and this is a proper three-way scrap for the lead of this race, as Van der Neert and Valeriano still close behind them. Now, just looking further back through the order as well, other close drivers, we have Ruth and Schkert for 10th position, and then we have a big chain from Hamnet all the way through Schultz, Hernandez, Roslin, and Siravatsky. Down, so that's 12th to 16th, right together, as is 18th between Branansky and Maguire. And of course, already we have 9 DNFs in this race already, so 9 DNFs, and we're only 7 laps through. This has been a real race of attrition. We know that Silverstone's tricky, as Hamlet goes side by side with Hernandez, and Hernandez gets the better run for 13th position and keeps the place for now.
Yeah, Valeriano is also very close to Danny Van der Neet. He sort of had a look going down into Brooklands at the end of the Wellington Straight, but not quite close enough. So Danny Van der Neet obviously using his defending skills and his fuel mixtures nicely, because if you didn't know, the drivers have 7 fuel mixtures to use, 1 being the slowest, 7 being the fastest. However, obviously you use more fuel, and you cannot use higher fuel mixtures all of the race, so you have to use it wisely when you want to attack and defend or save fuel in DRS and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. It's not just strategy with the tyres that the drivers have today, but also strategy with the fuel. You only get a certain amount of fuel that you can use in the race, logically. And, of course, you use up more when you go faster, when you use a higher engine mode. But at the same time, you do go faster. So it's all about using that at good strategic points in the race, and making sure at the same time that you don't overuse that fuel. But of course, the drivers decide their own fuel limits at the start of the race. They get well, they don't often put in the maximum fuel available to them, I think. Of course, they want to do it right on the limit where they can push, but still finish the race on pretty much the minimum amount of fuel, because of course that saves weight, and really that takes a lot of careful calculation.
It really depends how you want to run your race. I mean, I'm sure some drivers do run full tank, and a couple may run a few litres less if they can get away with it. However, it's obviously always beneficial to have some fuel when you want to attack and defend. So yeah, it's just how you manage it, how you want to run your race.
So as we head out through the club corner at the front, still the leaders separated by, well, not much at all, 1.5 seconds from first back to third. That's still absolutely the margin where anything could change. It's just difficult to follow the car ahead due to the aerodynamics on this car. So Mrocek is struggling to keep with Ivanov, and Satherley is struggling to keep with Mrocek. And it's difficult to get those good apexes that would allow you to get past the car ahead, simply because your car wants to move around in the corners when it is behind a car with so much downforce. Just watching Siravatsky and Schiappini going side by side through farm there, and Schiappini managed to keep himself on the inside line and get 16th position, but Siravatsky's still there, not quite. He had to back off to make the corner, and Schiappini goes through into 16th position, still outside of the points, but he's only just behind Harley Hamnet. So definitely still points on the horizon for Harley Hamnet, and you have to remember that they're not too far behind the long chain ahead of them either.
This train, well, sort of train that you're talking about is quite a nice battle. There's some drivers very close together, basically from Jeff Fournier all the way down to about Chiappini, Siravatsky, as you were saying. Even Luke Maguire is on the end of that as well. Some nice battles going on here, and Chiappini almost went 3 wide into turn 1 on the last lap, so they are going for everything, even though it's only worth a couple of points at this moment in the race. And who's that? That's Christoph Schoer going past Jeff Fournier into Stowe, but Fournier is almost having a look back here, coming into the final chicane, but no, doesn't go for the overtake. So yeah, that is Christoph Schoer up into P9. Just ahead of them, Philip Kraus in P8 is actually on the soft tyres. I think I said he was on the mediums earlier, but now he's on the soft tyres. And he is very close to Lucas Schmidt, obviously wanting to get past. He's going around the outside here into turn 3. Couldn't quite keep it on the outside, actually, but that was probably just trying to get Lucas off his line to get a better run out through Aintree onto the Wellington Straight. He's going to be very close here. He's got DRS, probably using some fuel. He's closing. Can he go around the outside into Brooklands? That is going to be a big overtake if he can get it done there side by side. And Philip now has the inside for this corner, and he makes that stick. That is a nice move from the flag-to-flag driver up into 7th place. And on the soft tyres, he now needs to make a gap to Schmidt before he makes his pit stop in a few laps' time, so that he will have the advantage when Lucas eventually makes his pit stop as well. That's a nice move there by Kraus into P7.
Meanwhile, David Chiappini has finally got past Harley Hamnet. It was a brave move around the outside of Brooklands, and it's paid off. So Chiappini now up into the point scoring positions, and with a good move as well. Siravatsky almost capitalised on that and went through into 16th, but had to back off and couldn't make the most of it. But as they cross the line this time, the gap for the lead is still just 0.8 of a second, and still the top 3 separated by about 1.5 seconds. So still pretty much the same gaps. They're lapping absolutely, they're lapping pretty much the same lap times and have been since the start of the race. But yeah, it's still even off from Morcek, and I'm expecting if anyone's used up a lot of their tyres at the start of the race, we could start to see stops soon. It's a little bit early for them now. How long do you think the soft tyres can actually go, realistically?
I mean, if you're doing a one-stop, you obviously want to really just get as far as you can into the race, but probably something in the region of lap 15, give or take a couple of laps, especially on a full tank, is really what you want to be doing, because the mediums can actually go quite nicely if you drive them nicely. So with about 25 laps to the end, that is going to be something that they are going to be looking at. However, obviously if you want to have new tyres at the end, you might want to stay out a couple more laps, or if you want the undercut to make an overtake, you would hit a couple of laps earlier. So there's some strategy options there for the drivers. And the first person to make a pit stop, as she says, Tom Satherley. He is, was in 3rd position. This is a little bit early, so he might be taking the hard tyres if he is keeping on a one-stop strategy. Just going to see what tyres he puts on now. If he takes a medium, he's taking the medium. That is 27 laps. It's a little bit on the larger side of the lap count for those tyres, but it is possible.
Another driver in the pits is Carlos Hernandez, possibly doing exactly the same thing. Let's see what tyres he goes on to. It's mediums, so obviously drivers do feel that they can make this race on the medium tyre. As out of the pits comes Satherley in 8th position, between Schmidt and Schoer, and out of the pits comes Hernandez in 18th. He's not going to be passed by Najam, so 18th position for him as Maguire, Siravatsky and Hamnet fight. Hamnet on the inside of Siravatsky through Aintree. He gets that, but Maguire has got both of them there.
Yeah, Luke Maguire is unfortunately down in the lower end of the points. Obviously, he had the stop from pits penalty, but he obviously would have the pace to be a lot higher up, like his teammate David Mrček, who is still in DRS of Viktor Ivanov. Right now, are either of these going to pair? Yes, David hits. So looking for an undercut on Viktor Ivanov, getting it slowed down nicely there onto the line. So let's have a look. Where's Tom Savley? Tom Savley is in 8th place, coming up to Stowe Corner. This where David comes out is going to be quite important to see what the undercut potential is for other drivers. And Tom Savley coming around the final corner. Obviously, Mojek already halfway down the pit entry and cuts out a bit of turn 1 because it's shorter. So I think Tom is actually going to, Tom is going to be able to get to David Mojek. So he's made the position. Yes. He's got the undercut, which is probably worth about 1.5 seconds or so. So
that's what he intended to do by coming in on lap 11.
Ivanov,
early.
Yeah, Ivanov needs to come in soon, really, if he doesn't want to get undercut by Tom Savley. Assuming Savley is doing a one-stop. He's now going down inside, not quite, of Lucas Schmidt. Obviously not wanting to lose any time from
I tell you what,
from this traffic.
If the undercut's working like this, it might well be that Ivanov loses the lead to both of these. But you have to remember that Schmidt is holding up Savley here because Schmidt is running slower with older tyres. Savley's pitted, Schmidt hasn't. And as a result, maybe Schmidt is doing Ivanov a massive favour here because Ivanov is running in clean air and Savley isn't. And this could mean that Ivanov does come out behind or in front of Savley, but we'll have to see. Now, does Ivanov pit this time round? He stayed out.
So he is playing the tyre game. He is wanting to stay out as long as possible to use his soft tyres so he has better tyres at the end. He obviously isn't overly worried about track position on this track, and Savley's now right up the gearbox of Lucas Schmidt. He obviously needs to get past as quickly as possible because all this undercut potential is going to be reducing as the time goes by. But Tom Savley, is he going to look down the inside to turn 1? That is going to be a brave move, but no, he's almost touching coming through turn 1 and 2. He's going to be looking for a move here. Surely no. He wants the DRS on the next straight. But yeah, this is all helping Viktor Ivanov because this is just giving free time to Viktor to stay out and have better tyres at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is
Savley goes position. Sorry, Savley goes position on the inside into Brooklands. Has he kept that? Yes, he has. Who's that?
And through goes Project too.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a bit of sort of team orders there because Schmidt went a bit wide. Didn't quite see where he broke, but yeah, there's Mojek also passed, and these two drivers are now going to be pushing as hard as possible to try and negate anything that they lost from being stuck behind Schmidt.
I would knew there from a team's perspective that he needed to hold Savley up for as long as he could, and then as soon as Savley went through, as he inevitably would do with those much fresher tyres, he needed to give the place up to Schmidt, or to Mojek rather, at the same time, and he's played that well. But still, and Valeriano pits, so Ivanov hasn't, but Valeriano has. So our championship leader, who's been having a pretty tough time so far, is in the pits, and as is Philip Kraus. So Valeriano in, Kraus in as well. This is lap 15, so this is when he said the drivers would start to pit, roughly. Christoph Schur is in from 9th position, and Valeriano is on the medium tyres. We're expecting everyone to go onto the medium here. Kraus does, Schur does. That all looks pretty standard.
I think Viktor Ivanov needs to pit this lap. His last lap was some 1.5 seconds slower than Tom Savley. So Viktor needs to pit this lap. His lap times have just been dropping off and off. And if he wanted to stay out a couple more laps to help his tyres at the end, I think this is the lap where he needs to go in to not lose any time as such. And he might even be able to keep track position as it stands. Although Tom Savley at the last check was only 15 seconds behind Viktor, so he might actually come out ahead of Viktor Ivanov. So we'll have to see, because I assume Viktor is going to be pitting at the end of this lap with Danny Van der Neet and Dylan Scrivens as well.
Well, can Van der Neet pit? Because I don't think they can double stack the cars.
Oh, Viktor Ivanov stay out again. No, in FSR, each driver does have their own pit box, so that is completely open for when each driver does, and Scrivens comes in the pit lane.
Dylan
but
Scrivens
not the
in
two
from
Netrex
second.
Guys.
And the two Netrex guys staying out for as long as they can. In a way, this is playing into the hands of Ivanov because his rivals got held up, and of course he's been in clean air the whole time, which might play into his hands later on in the race, as will the fresher medium tyres. But on the other hand, the others got onto the softer tyre sooner, and that means that it might well be that for now he will come out behind his rivals Satherley and Rodger, but we'll have to see. Satherley and Rodger still running very close on track actually, but it's all down to whether Ivanov pits or not on this lap, I expect.
Yes, Satherley and Rodger are definitely going to get Ivanov now, so a bit confused as to why he's staying out so long, because Rodger and Satherley can just about one stop from there, so I don't think they would be pitting again, so this is a very interesting strategy from Ivanov. And just on the last lap, when Valeriano was coming past Fournier, Fournier almost dropped it coming out of Stowe, I noticed, which also caused Dylan Scrivens to get past as he came out the pit lane as well. So that's Jeff Fournier down into 9th place. He hasn't stopped yet, he is on the medium tyres, and Victor and Danny pit this lap.
Yeah, they're both in, so Victor Ivanov from the lead, Van der Meert in second. Talking of Valeriano, he did just get past Fabian Ruth. Fabian Ruth on the harder compounded tyre, the tyre I wasn't expecting to see much today. Bit on the medium, Van der Meert is just about to stop as well. He stops the car now, and where is Ivanov going to come out? And Satherley has already gone through. In fact, Rodger's gone through as well. Ivanov is a long way behind. He's trying to pick up the pieces at the end of the race. Schmidt's got him as well. Remember, Schmidt hasn't stopped yet, so Ivanov comes out a long way behind the two leaders now, and this is a real turning point in terms of the race. But I think he's come out far enough behind that this is a legitimate different strategy to the two of them. But remember, it's harder to fight your way past someone on track than it is in the pit stop stages. So Ivanov's going to have to fight for this one.
I think this was actually the best that he could have done in the situation, because he knew Satherley and probably Mojek were going to get the undercut anyway, so he stayed out an extra couple of laps, lost a couple of seconds because of the undercut, but now he's going to have a much fresher tyre because he's pit, 6 laps or 7 laps after Satherley, I think about 5 laps after Mojek. So when we get to the end of the race, when we get to the end of the race, he's going to have a lot fresher tyres, and as long as Schmidt doesn't hold him up too much here, he should be able to start chasing them down pretty much straight away. And yes, Victor might look around the outside into Stowe. Can he make the move? Yes, he can.
That was a lot quicker than Satherley did it.
Yeah, that's up into 3rd place now for Victor Ivanov, and going to chase down Davin Mojek, who is about 4 seconds up the road.
Yeah, that was a lot quicker than Satherley did it, so that might well be very good for Victor Ivanov. But remember, he will have to fight past his opponents on track there, so a very different strategy here, and this will be an interesting one when it plays out. But the gaps are Satherley to Rodger 1.4 seconds, and Satherley to Ivanov almost 5, so there is a definite difference there. Into the pits now comes Harley Hamnet and Yuri Siravatsky. Hamnet going onto the harder compounded tyre, so obviously he doesn't feel he can go onto mediums now. But there have been drivers who have gone onto the mediums a long time before him. Whoa, big slide on the pit exit there. I think Hamlet's made a bit of a mistake here, unless he started the race on the medium tyre. I didn't exactly check that.
He is, well, he's on hard as you say, so he is just going to be going to the end from here. That should be pretty easy. Maybe that's just what his tyre wear was, and unfortunately he's had to use some harder tyres this race, but he can obviously still make that work if he can get some speed out of them. Because Fabian Roof is up in 6th place, he's still on the hard tyres. He started the race on hard tyres, so I expect him to be going well far into this race, well after lap 25 probably. So yeah, he's still doing pretty well. I mean, his pace is low, sort of low mid 31s, which isn't so bad at this stage of the race compared to similar people around him like Peter Schuster in 10th place, who also hasn't stopped on the medium tyres.
Just looking at the chat, Kevin Peters says, I think they pit again for the softs at the end. So obviously there's doubts as to whether these drivers can run to the end of the race. I reckon they can just about do it, but they're going to have to be careful.
It's possible. I don't presume it would be quicker for them to stop again, but maybe they can. And yet Danny van der Neet now going past Fabian Ruth. It's Fabian Ruth on the hard tyres, as I just said, down to 7th place now, and Dylan Scrivens is all over the back of him as well. And not quite able to overtake, so Danny van der Neet up into 6th position now, behind Valeriano again where he was before the pit stop. And Dylan Scrivens, I think, is going to be looking for a move here in the near future on Fabian Ruth as well.
Yeah, that's the battle for 6th, 7th and 8th. Ruth on he's on the hard compounded tyre rather than the medium compounded tyre, so he's the driver who stands out in this little battle. But yeah, to the inside goes Scrivens, and Scrivens makes easy work of it, so up into 7th, but he does wiggle a bit on the exit there, still keeps the place. That was relatively straightforward. And Fabian Ruth, 8th position, still ahead of Jeffrey Fournier, but Fournier will be closing in, as will the chain of cars behind him, Kraus and Schultz. So the order after 20 laps is Satherley leading from Rodger, Ivanov, Schmidt, Valeriano, van der Neet, Scrivens, Ruth, Kraus, Fournier and Schultz, although Fournier and Kraus, I believe, just swapped positions. Then it's Rosland, Maguire, Schur and Hernandez. Those are the 15 drivers who will score points if they finish like this. Nayam, Hamnet, Siravatsky and Branansky, followed by the 10 retirements we have, including our most recent and one of the most dramatic, David Schiappini. And I don't think we mentioned that Schiappini had actually retired from this race. Of course, he wasn't in the he was in the points. He was running in 14th position, and what happened to him was that he just lost it going through maggots and went into the barrier hard, and obviously that was the end of his race there. So a championship challenger, 3rd in the championship, remember, has been forced to retire from this race.
Yeah, that is a shame for him, because Chiappini is definitely looking like a strong candidate this year in his first season in Ace, if I am correct. So yeah, he's having a good first season. Unfortunately, this race hasn't gone how he wants to, but he's a race winner, so I'm sure he will be back in the future battling for the lead again. And Peter Schultz now in the pit lane, finally making a pit stop, going, I assume, to the soft tyres, although he's only got to lap 21, so he's going to have to go a fairly long way, 18 laps on those soft tyres, but Peter is quite good on his tyres generally, so I'm sure he can make that work. Yeah, he's just pitted for the soft compounded tyre. It started on the medium, and now he escapes from the pits again. But Schultz down now to 15th position, still in the points, still has some time to make up though with that softer compound of tyres, and well, that puts Arif Rosler now up into 11th position in this race. I believe that's where Schultz just came from. And I think the closest actual battle on track at the minute is the one for 6th position between van der Neet and Scrivens, as Scrivens has been catching van der Neet, I believe, over the last couple of laps. Van der Neet actually did just set his fastest lap of the race, possibly in response to Scrivens, so maybe he's not catching, but certainly was before. But Van der Neet responding now, seems to have the hammer down, and Lucas Schmidt now pits from 4th. He was one of the last drivers up the front of the order not to stop yet, and Schmidt pits from 4th position, and I believe that means that Valeriano's made up quite a few places here, because he was 7th before. Now he appears to be running in 5th position, so Valeriano running very, very well here now, 4th actually. So from 9th on the grid, after we had Lukaszek going back to the pits, Valeriano, our championship leader, up into 4th. He said he'd fight his way through, and he has done nicely, and this is going to give him a big point advantage over his main rival Lucas Schmidt, who is still running in 10th position. I've been just been sort of looking at the times of the leaders right now, and At the moment, Victor, he had one sort of little wobble a couple of laps ago, but apart from that, he's sort of doing the same pace as Tom Satherley, but Mrocek is sort of coming back towards Victor, but the gap between Victor and Tom is staying very similar, so I wonder if Mrocek is just struggling to keep the pace a little bit, even though his lap times are still reasonable. But yeah, Victor Ivanov isn't making any sort of inroads, so I'm sure once we get to the last sort of 10 laps, that's really when the tyre wear is going to start kicking in, and that is where he's going to have that 5-6 lap advantage that he has. But at the moment, it's not closing down that much. It's still around 5 seconds, which is where it was when he came out of the pit lane. But Mrocek is now 2 seconds behind Tom.
Yeah, Rodger 2 seconds behind Satherley at the top of the order as Fabian Ruth now pits from 7th. He started on the harder compounded tyre. He will now be going onto the softs, I'm sure, to go to the end of this race. He's lasted about what we'd expect on the harder tyre, maybe a little bit shorter, but he knows he can go to the end on softs now, so he is intending to do so. And out of the pits he goes now. He's recovering in 12th position as Cheyenne Nayan now pits from 15th position, so still the pit stops ongoing. And still, Ivanov only, well, he's about 5 seconds behind Satherley in the lead. So not really gaining any time yet. That's all going to have to come at the end of the race if it occurs. Anyway, we have 2 seconds between Satherley and Wojciech. As we said, Ivanov is about 5 seconds behind, 5.1 now. Valeriano, 8 seconds behind them. Back to Van der Neert, 12.5 seconds behind. Out of the pit comes Nayab in 18th position as Siravatsky and Maguire go side by side. Maguire gets him on the softer compounded tyre. That's for 16th position. He still has another place to make up before he gets into the points scoring positions. The car ahead of him is Harley Hamnet, and Hamnet is on the hard compound of tyre. So that one should be quite straightforward if he can catch him. So into the pits now comes Jeffrey Fournier from 8th.
Yeah, the lap times of this top group is very, very weird. They're all basically all identical from 1st down to 7th with Philip Kraus. They're literally all doing the same lap times, which is really weird. So the gaps are just staying constant at this moment in time. But Lucas Schmidt, who has just pitted for some soft tyres, he has just on the fastest lap of the race, a 29.3. So he's going very quickly at this moment. Still has a not overly long, but still a fairly long way to go on those soft tyres. So hopefully he doesn't kill his tyres doing pace like that from the get-go. Yeah, the leaders are, right now they're doing very similar fast laps. So they're definitely pushing each other hard, even though a couple of the gaps are a little bit too big to have a challenge at the moment, like Danny Van der Neet's dropped back slightly from Valeriano.
Yeah, indeed he has. So between Satherley and Mrocek and Valeriano, and Ivanov rather, they are setting very similar laps. Valeriano a little bit quicker than them over the last couple of laps on average, I think. Because Satherley's last couple of laps, I think they've averaged about 130.6, early 130.6. Mrocek's have been pretty much the same, and Ivanov's as well. Well, they've been about 130.4, but Valeriano behind he's been in the 130.2s, probably late 130.2s as an estimation, and Van der Neert again in the 0.3. So there's definitely a little bit of change between them, but they're still the gaps are still pretty stagnant at the minute, and I'm sure it's all going to happen later on in the race. We have to keep an eye on Satherley and Wojciech possibly having their tyres drop off on them before Ivanov's do. Looking down the order, we have the majority of drivers on the medium compounded tyre now. The top driver who isn't on the medium compounded tyre is Lucas Schmidt in 8th position. He is on the soft compounded tyre, as is Fabian Ruth in another one of the ACR cars, and Peter Schultz in in 12th position. And Satherley pits. So it seems that the drivers at the front of the order are not able to go to the end of the race on this set of tyres. They are 2-stopping. Satherley is pitting now, and we're waiting for Rodger and Ivanov to react to that. Maybe Ivanov can go for a 1-stop, while Satherley and Rodger will have to 2-stop here.
This, I think, is a bad move from Tom Satherley, because everyone ahead of him, I think Rodger is going to be going to the end, because I think he would have followed Tom into the pit lane, because the overcut obviously isn't working here today. But yeah, Tom Satherley, if he's to get that position back, he needs to be a second a lap quicker than anyone else, and he's come out just behind Philip Kraus here, who's obviously going to the end on those medium tyres. So Tom has got to do a lot of overtaking and have a lot of lap speed, and yes, he gets past Kraus into Brooklands. Yeah, he's gonna really have to push now to try and to make that time back. I'm not sure a 2-stop is really the way to go around here. Let's see if he can make it work. He's obviously going to be trying his hardest. He obviously couldn't keep those medium tyres going long enough. But yeah, Mrocek, this is now where he needs to make a decision if he is going to try and stay out to the end, or if he is going to make a pit stop like Satherley. Yes, he is. So this gives Victor Ivanov the lead. Victor will definitely be going to the end of the race, considering how late he pit. So yeah, Mrocek and Satherley are trying something different here, going on to a 2-stop strategy. Satherley is only 11 seconds off the lead, so he needs to be, yes, just about a second a lap quicker than Victor Ivanov till the end. Victor is doing at the moment low mid 1 minute 30s, so Tom needs to be right down into the low 1 minute 29s to make this work.
Now Giordano Valeriano gets put up into second position by that. He pitted 2 laps before Ivanov, so his tyres are not quite as new, Nate. But Ivanov and Valeriano, if they can hold on to this, they're in a great position. Although Van den Eert and and Satherley rather will be charging, Scrivens has got between them. So Scrivens, actually, I'm looking at the wrong car because I said Van den Eert. I should be looking at Mrocek, but Kreis has got between them. So although Mrocek is going to be charging now, Kreis is between him and Satherley, and well, it's looking good for Ivanov, Valeriano, and Van den Eert. When did Van den Eert pit? He pitted on the same lap as Ivanov. So for the 2 NetRex Grand Prix cars, they seem to have timed this to perfection. It all depends on whether they can keep those tyres for the rest of this race.
Yeah, we have Tommy in the comments saying that he thinks that Victor should pit as well to cover them, but I think we'll have to see what Tom's pace is on this lap, but I think Victor would definitely choose the track position right now, because Tom has to overtake Dylan, Danny and Giordano before he even gets to Victor, while still being a second a lap quicker. What was his last lap? A 29.2 compared to Victor's 30.4. So yes, he was 1.2 seconds a lap quicker. So Satherley can keep this to the end of the race. He will at least get a chance at Victor if Victor's pace doesn't drop. So maybe it is going to work for Tom Satherley and not be a bad move like I called it a couple of laps ago, but he does need to do some overtaking.
Yeah, certainly, and it's always easier to overtake the pit strategy than it is to do it on the road. So that's not often what the drivers go for. They often like to do it through track position, and well, that's why I thought that Ivanov had put himself in a bad position, but it looks like he was fine. It was just the 2 drivers, Satherley and Mrocek. And I'm wondering if they could have gone to the end on that last set of tyres. Mrocek gets over the grass there. If they could have gone to the end on that set of tyres, could they have kept that? Could they have, won the race?
It was going to be a big push at 27 laps, I think it was. They put on the end of lap 11, or 28 laps even if it was the end of lap 11. So it was going to be a bit of a push, and considering how long Victor went on his softs, he's obviously got some good tyre wear today. So it was going to be a struggle for them, especially to keep the pace. So maybe for them, this is the best option. Let's see what Satherley does on this lap. Again, a 29.2, 2 laps in a row. Victor did a 30.1. So yes, that is just about good enough. We have Christoph Schoer in the pit lane now in P number 10. Is that... Yeah, that is a 2-stop from him as well. So that is obviously the Ghost Speed strategy is a 2-stop today.
Yeah, definitely the Ghost Speed strategy, and well, it's an interesting one. Of course, the winning strategy in the pro race earlier was a 1-stopper, but seems like 2 stops are more popular than I expected today. And well, Savalli is catching Scrivens. I must say his fastest lap of the race has just been set. In fact, his last 2 laps were separated by just 0.02 of a second, so he's quick and consistent. Here is Tom Savalli, and Rodger is right on the same pace here. So, although interestingly, Rodger set his fastest lap of the race the lap before he pitted, so obviously he knew then that he needed to make up the time. And well, he's already passed Philip Kraus, so Rodger up into 6th as Savalli hunts down Dylan Scrivens, who spins.
Well,
so
that is...
Savalli gets past him pretty easily there, as that problem cleaned itself away. Scrivens spun through club, went over the grass, and came back on just ahead of Rodger, so Rodger didn't get through at the same time. And, well, Rodger's actually going to have to fight Scrivens on track here.
Yeah, that's one less driver for Tom Savalli to overtake, and Tom again with a 3rd lap in a row, a 29.2, when Ivanov has dropped to a 30.6, so this is looking good.
Here comes Rodger, and he gets Scrivens in a straight line, and Savalli's next target is Danny van der Neert in third, but van der Neert will not want to give it up because he knows who Savalli is racing against. And Ivanov is in a good position at the minute, so he doesn't want to give that up. And look at Valeriano. Valeriano is charging as well, and I believe his lap times are faster now than Ivanov's. In fact, his last lap was about half a second quicker. So if he continues at that rate, Valeriano might be in contention to win this race from 10th on the grid, despite the fact his tyres will go off towards the end of the race because they're 2 laps older than Ivanov. So, wow, this is a really tense one, and any driver out of 4 could be in contention to win it.
So we now have 8 laps to go here in Silverstone, and Tom Savalli is 6.7 seconds off the lead, but with 2 drivers to overtake. So he's going to need to make the move on this straight from Danny van der Neet to really have a chance to push as much as he can. And he is very close to Danny van der Neet here. I think he's going to be using all of his fuel, all the DRS, all the slipstream, everything he has got to try and get past. And yeah, that's quite easy actually, past Danny van der Neet, who's actually, he's just sort of given that space. He knows the deal that Tom was going to get past anyway. So next for Danny van der Neet is actually David Mrocek to think about, but Mrocek's lost a few seconds now. So yeah, Tom Savalli up into 3rd place, 6 seconds off the lead. Can he catch Valeriano and Victor Ivanov? It's going to be a close call. Looking at the lap times, well, Victor just put in another 30.2 last lap. So Victor's obviously keeping the life in his tyres to push at the end. So yeah.
Yeah, certainly. So Ivanov's still pushing, but Valeriano is catching 2.2 seconds behind through the last checkpoint. That gap looks visually smaller now. Savalli has passed van der Neet for 3rd position. Mrocek still needs to get past van der Neet, and behind them, Scrivens, Kraus, Schmidt, Ruth, and Schultz are the top 10, followed by Fournier, Maguire, Schoer, Hamnet, and Roslin. Those are the 15 drivers who are going to score points today. Just outside the points, Carlos Hernandez, and then after him, Cheyenne Nayam, Yuri Seravatsky, and Martin Branansky. They're the 19 drivers remaining in this race, but all focus is on the top of the order and on the strategy between them as we head through the first part of lap 33 out of 39, and it's still Ivanov from Valeriano by 2.1 seconds. The closest actual battle on track at the minute, well, you have to look down to possibly to 14th position between Hamnet, Roslan and Hernandez. But though that group, I'm not sure whether there will be a change between, even though Hamnet's on the hard tyre and Roslan and Hernandez are on the soft tyre. Actually, I think there will be a change there. But the real battles are up the front of the order as Satherley gets within 5 seconds now of Ivanov, and Roslan goes to the inside of Hamnet and gets 14th position. Does he? Hamnet's still there. Roslan has to hold it on around the outside for 14th position. He gets very sideways and Hernandez goes through. So Hernandez goes through on the gets 15th from the final point, and still Hamnet is there. And Hernandez is going to have to, or Roslan is going to have to try again, because he went for one position and lost another. But and now Mrocek brings the gap between him and Van den Eert to 0.6 of a second. So it definitely seems like Mrocek still has a lot of pace in those soft tyres, and is possibly going to go for Van den Eert very, very shortly. Let's see how close he can get with the DRS down the straight. I don't think he'll be close enough to actually make a move here, but he's going to get close as they go into Brooklands again. Of course, Satherley's already got past Van den Eert. Now it's down to David Mrocek, and Lucas Schmidt is side by side with Philip. Oh, Philip Kraus is out. What's happened to Kraus? He's in the barrier.
He is not out, but yes, he is in the barrier. Let's try and catch a replay of this.
Contact with Schmidt. It was contact with Schmidt. Schmidt went to the inside of Brooklands, and Kraus possibly didn't know he was there. Turned into the corner like normal. He'll say that Schmidt drifted out a bit as well, and round goes Kraus. And it seems to be that if he'd held the brakes, he would have been fine, but he let go of the brakes, and as he tried to spin the car around, hit the barrier, and he's lost his front wing.
Yeah, that is a bit of a difficult one to call. I mean, Schmidt did come in at a bit of an awkward angle and locking up a little bit.
And he's out of the race.
Yeah, I'm sure if that is protested, there will be a serious investigation into that one, but it seems that, yeah, Philip Kraus is unfortunately out of this race, because he was looking on to get at least some, handful of points here in the top 10. But unfortunately, that is no longer how it's going to be. And who's that?
David. He's taking a second a lap out of Valeriano. He's 1.5 seconds behind him now. So second place is absolutely on. And after that, Satherley will be right with Ivanov. Now I'm watching Rodger going to the outside of Van den Eert around Brooklands. Good move there, and he makes it stick. Rodger through into 4th position now. He can chase after Satherley. So it's all coming together at the top of the order. And the top 4 drivers might be right together by the end of next lap, possibly. Wow, what a race we're witnessing here between Ivanov, Valeriano, Satherley, and Mrocek. Mrocek, the real outside shot here after getting held up a bit more by the traffic here, as Van den Eert certainly didn't want to move over for him. But of course, he's completely obliged not to. Satherley has come within a second of Valeriano now. So second place absolutely on, and as we head through Stowe, it's all about sticking with Valeriano and getting in contention as they head towards another straight. Oh, a bit of a lock up there from Satherley, but he's still right with him. Keeps the car within the lines, and as they head out through Club, Satherley. Well, let's see the gap. It's 0.6 of a second between Valeriano and Satherley, who are 2.1 seconds behind Ivanov. Fantastic.
This is going to be close, I think. Satherley has been able to do the pace. He needs to get past Valeriano basically on this lap, because after this lap we will have 4 laps left, including this one. So he really needs to try and get past and then cover that couple of seconds gap to Victor to have a go on the last lap. If he loses much time here, that will probably be the win gone for him. So he needs to get past as soon as he can to have the best chance possible. But Victor's coming up to some... Oh no, he's got past the lap traffic actually, as I was watching Tom. So yes, Tom needs to try and get past on this lap and push to have at least a chance on the last lap.
So on this lap of racing, Satherley is really catching Valeriano. He's sticking with him through the S's. They've got some traffic ahead of them who gets out of the way nicely, but Satherley is right with Valeriano. He's in the DRS range. They're within 2 seconds of the car ahead. Let's see what Savali does. He's not going to get close enough into Stowe. I really thought he would do, but he doesn't, and has to stick behind Valeriano for now. But the gap through that sector is registered as 0.3 of a second. As into the pits now comes the back marker. That will be Martin Brolansky, obviously going for one more stop, simply because he's got nothing to lose really. Has he just run the majority of the race on the hard tyre? I'm really not sure what's happened there, but he's already last and he's pitting again, so Brolansky is completely out of contention here. But Valeriano and Savali right together still. We're on lap 37 now, and Schgoer and Maguire are side by side. Schgoer still in 11th place there. Maguire going to the inside, there's contact, and that was close going into the club chicane.
Tom Savali's going for it down into Brooklands. He's oh wow, that was very close to Valeriano. Valeriano was giving him just the room that he had to by the rule book, but yeah, that was very close to some contact. Valeriano is helping Ivanov here so much by holding him up, and Savali is clearly the quicker driver here, but cannot quite get past down into Brooklands. He couldn't quite get it on the brakes, but he's going to be looking again into the next DRS zone onto the Hangar Straight. Although Tom hasn't had the best exit there, he's a little bit far back, but I think he's just about close enough. If he uses his fuel mixture, it's going to be a last-ditch move. Can he get down the inside? This is what he needs to go for, but no, takes the safe option. I think that was just about doable for him, but he is obviously not wanting to lose any points as much as he wants to gain it.
Yeah, certainly Savali doesn't want to throw it away now because he's so close to second position. He's already in a podium place, and realistically any driver would be happy with a podium, but at this point Savali wants second. He can sniff it, and of course after that he wants the lead of the race. It's not entirely undoable at this stage, not entirely impossible rather, because Ivanov is only 2 seconds up the road and dropping, or not dropping back, but I expect he would be, as Valeriano goes to break the slipstream, and Savali didn't quite get there in time. He's not close enough through Brooklands and has to brake earlier to avoid Valeriano there, but for the rest of the lap it's all about sticking with him to get a good run down towards the hangar, or up through the hangar straight and towards Stowe.
Even though they've been batting like this, the pace from these drivers has still been very good into the low 30s. Ivanov even did a high 29 a couple of laps ago. So as the fuel is coming off, they've obviously kept their tyres well enough that they can keep doing these laps. And Tom made a tiny bit of a mistake, but again, I think he's a bit closer than this lap. If he's going to go for it, he needs to make this last minute move. He's got to go for it now on the inside. Can he make it stick? No, Valeriano keeps it on the outside. So yes, we are coming up to now the final lap of this race, if I'm not mistaken. Going to be the end of 38 on this lap. So yeah, Viktor Ivanov is leading as we get to 1 lap to go here in Silverstone. Who is going to win this race? It is very close between these drivers, and Tom has even dropped off Valeriano a little bit here. I think he's still going to get DRS, but the gap between them is so minimal. Let's check what lap times. No, they're still doing good lap times, so there's no mistakes going on here. This is all just raw pace from them pushing each other to the finish line. Tom Savali again closing in on Valeriano, but I think he's far too far back, although he goes very ballsy on the brakes there, but no overtake can be made into that corner. And this has made Mrocek catch up a little bit here, but he is too far away for anything to happen. So it's all about, can Tom Savali get himself P2? I think the win is just a bit of a stretch now as we are on the final lap. But can Savali get Valeriano? He's very close. He's going to be at the detection zone here for the DRS. He's definitely got it. He's close enough. He needs to keep his line nice and clean to get a good exit, which he hasn't done. He has gone out wide, and that, I think, is P2 gone for Tom Savali. That is going to be too far for him to gain back with the slipstream and DRS. So we turn to Viktor Ivanov, who has done a brilliant job here today. A nice strategy, keeping it clean at the beginning, taking the lead, being good on his tyres, and now he's going to come out of the final corner to get his second win in Formula Sim Racing. Viktor Ivanov takes the victory here in 59 minutes from Giordano Valeriano, Tom Savali, David Mrocek and Danny Van Der Neet getting 5th place. Good race from Dylan Scrivens as well in 6th. Lucas Schmidt coming home in P7. Fabian Ruth with an interesting strategy, but it obviously worked as he is in P8. Peter Schultz doing an alternate strategy to get into P9, and Jeff Fournier also into P number 10.
I tell you what, Ivanov, absolutely the driver of the day there for me, making the one-stop strategy work. Unlike a lot of his rivals, Valeriano did the same thing and came up from 10th on the grid, actually, to finish in 2nd position there. So Valeriano, well, it looked like he was going to lose a lot of championship points, actually doesn't lose that many at all, and he's finished a long way ahead of Lucas Schmidt, who finished in 7th, and ahead of David Schiappini, his other championship rival, because Schiappini finished, well, he didn't finish, he retired after an accident. So Ivanov wins the race, followed by Valeriano, Satherley, Rodger, Van Neert, Scrivens, Schmidt, Ruth, Schultz, Fournier, Schger, Maguire, Hernandez, Roslan, Hamnet. Those are the point scorers, down to 15th position, and outside of the points, Nayam, Suravatsky and Branansky being a lap down. And then there were some non-retirements, who were Kraus, Schiappini, Parvez, Gomez, Panzer, Godek, Andre, Coleman, Morville, Yunt and Lukashek. But what a drive that was from Victor Ivanov and Giordano Valeriano, 1st and 2nd in this race, making the one-stop strategy work. Brilliant.
And that gives Valeriano a massive lead in the championship as well, just getting the championship up. So before the race, he was 19 points ahead of Lucas Schmidt, and he has just gained, trying to do some quick maths, he's probably gained about another 10 or so. So he is going to be over a race win ahead in the championship. So Valeriano is definitely looking like the class of the field. And Victor Ivanov is currently down in 10th position in the championship. So that's going to bump him up to about 5th as well. So good race from Victor today. And yeah, that was a very exciting race in the end. That two-stop strategy from Tom Sadley and David Mocek definitely made it a very interesting race at the end with them. And as I thought, it didn't quite work out for them. There was just too much time to gain, as Victor could keep their pace in that middle stint for them. But yeah, that just about does it for us here today. We have the World Championship coming in about 50 minutes time at 17:30 GMT. So we look forward to seeing you there for the best drivers that we have here in Formula Sim Racing and some of the best in sim racing in general go to battle at this wonderful circuit. But yes, for today, that is just about it. So thank you very much for watching, and thanks to Joshua Penny. Do you want to say the final words?
Yeah, so a fantastic race. Very good to see it from a strategic point of view, from a battling point of view. It was just brilliant, and very good to watch some very respectable driving and close racing there. And well done to our podium finishers, Victor Ivanov, Giordano Valeriano and Tom Satherley. Thanks for joining me in the commentary box, Cameron Rodger, and also our cameraman, Felix van Delft. And from Formula Sim Racing, until the World Championship starting very shortly, we'll see you later.